Hey everyone, my name is Dave Betts, and here's something I never thought I'd say. Google's budget cell phone, the Google Pixel 4a, it's shockingly good. And today, I thought I'd share a few of the reasons why I've made the switch from iPhone to the Pixel 4a, and who knows, maybe it will influence you to make that switch too. So for over a decade, I was a total Apple fanboy. And don't get me wrong, I have absolutely nothing against Apple at all. But I'm just, I'm not convinced that they're the leaders in innovation that they once were. And so last year, after 14 years, I made the switch from a MacBook Pro to Windows with the Dell XPS 15. And, while it's not perfect by any means, I'm really glad that I made that switch from Mac to Windows. And by the way, you can check out my review and my experience by clicking the card at the top or clicking on the link in the description below. And I'd already spent time moving from Apple's native calendar and mail client apps to Gmail and to Google Calendars and all of that. So the switch, it wasn't too hard to go on computer, in all honesty. And equally, for the last decade, I've had an iPhone. And while it used to be kind of laughable just how far ahead of the competition they were, I've been watching Android phones catch up. And, I'd even started to hear people say that they'd overtaken iPhones, which to me was crazy. I couldn't believe that. And then a friend of mine told me about the Google Pixel 4a being, pretty good. And although I was really skeptical, I checked it out. I didn't think much of budget phones and, I was definitely late to the party, but it's just a really great phone. I love it. So here are 5 reasons why I think a seriously underappreciated phone called the Pixel 4a is worth considering in 2021. Number 1, the price. Okay, we have to start here at the price. Why? Because it impacts everything else that we're going to talk about. The Google Pixel 4a is just ridiculously cheap compared to the flagship phones on the market right now. In Canada, at least, they're usually around $500 or so. But my wife and I bought ours at Best Buy on a sale for just under $400 each. Come on, guys, that's crazy. For a decent phone, that is crazy. And for reference, the iPhone 12 Pro starts at $1,400. So setting us both up with 2 iPhone 12 Pros instead of Pixels would have been $2,000 more expensive, or 2,500 Canadian dollars more expensive. That is just nuts. So the price point is obviously a big deal. And it's enough of a big deal to make you really think about whether you need a top of the range phone anymore. I mean, how many of us actually need flagship phones anymore, right? How many of us really do? I don't know if I do. I used to pay a premium in price for a good camera, a good screen, lots of storage and all of that stuff. But most phones have these things now. I've never really been into mobile gaming, and I'm still not completely convinced by wireless charging just yet. And I'm definitely not bothered about augmented reality and LiDAR and all that stuff. In fact, I'm trying to use my phone less, not more. So do I need a flagship cell phone? Are those things worth paying 3 times as much for? Well, the truth is, in 2021, no. Not really. Not for me, at least. Maybe for you, and that's a really great thing. But if you are looking to save money right now and maybe get a phone that doesn't have all the bells and whistles, but still is a very good phone, maybe it's a great time to consider these so-called budget phones, in particular, the Google Pixel 4a. By the way, just as a quick disclaimer here, I'm obviously comparing the Pixel 4a to the flagship iPhone models, but the second generation iPhone SE especially is a legit competitor to the 4A in terms of price and all that other stuff. And it's a great budget phone option as well, definitely. I'm not saying it's not, but the point I'm making more than anything is that the gap between The budget and the flagship phones is smaller than ever, while the price difference is perhaps bigger than it's ever been before. So just keep that in mind. The price is a big deal. Number 2, the camera. If you know anything about Google phones, it's probably that they do a great job with their cameras. That was about all I knew about Google phones. If you've been following my channel for a while, you'll know that I love photography and videography and that kind of stuff. So cameras are a big deal. The quality of the camera is a big deal to me. The hardware itself isn't that special on the camera, but the software is incredible. You know, I had an iPhone 8 before, and the upgrade in picture quality is just phenomenal. The fact that it's even comparable with phones that are 3 times the price is something to be celebrated, and it's really quite exciting. As a new dad, I've loved snapping pictures of my little boy using the fantastic portrait mode, which admittedly takes a bit longer than I'd like to process the shots, but I'm really happy with the outcome. Not to mention that the Pixel 4a has a pretty decent night sight mode. It has image stabilization for video. It has panoramas and photosphere modes, and also the options for editing, although they're not as comprehensive as, say, Lightroom, obviously, they're still very good. What you can do with the camera features are really good. And one more thing that's worth mentioning, which I'll talk about in a minute, is the mind-blowing Google Lens feature, which is built into the camera user interface. And we'll talk about that again in a minute, like I said. Overall, keeping the price point in mind, of course, this camera is exceptional. Number 3, the design. Okay, I want to be absolutely real and honest here. The Google Pixel 4a is not the best looking phone out there, but it's not terrible. In fact, given the price point, again, I know I keep going on about it, it's very good. It's made of plastic, but I love that the screen fills the entire front of the phone except for the front camera notch. That's a really good thing. It's something that my iPhone 8 and, importantly, the latest iPhone SEs don't do. But when we're talking about design, of course, we are talking about more than just the way it looks. We're talking about the way it is made. We're talking about the hardware, and the hardware is very good again for the price. The battery life on this phone is fantastic. It comes with 128 gigabytes of storage as standard, which is really, really good. I remember the days well when my little 16 gigabyte iPhone would be filled so fast by iOS updates on my phone that I could only have like 3 apps downloaded at once. It was infuriating. I'm sure you can remember those times. But with the Pixel 4a, that's not a problem. And I know I'm going on about it, but for the price point, it's very, very good. And it has a headphone jack. I just love that. I get why we're heading towards wireless. I'm sure you do too, but I just don't think we're ready for it yet. The technology is just not there yet. And last but not least, as someone who'd almost exclusively followed iPhones for the last decade, just iPhones, I was really pleasantly surprised to find that the fingerprint sensor was on the back of the phone. I love that too. What a great idea. Well done. I think that's awesome. By the way, for those of you who are groaning constantly at what a noob I am with all this stuff, I apologize. I am just new to the Windows and Android world, okay? I'm stepping out of that iPhone fanboy life. Number 4, the software. Okay, I've kind of admitted it, but I was a total Apple snob. I used to think that Android was garbage, and maybe at one time it probably was, and then it got better, and I thought, well, still maybe it's just not for me, but it's actually really, really good. Now, surprisingly, I'm going to say this, but I think it's actually better than iOS right now. Of course, there's the well-known user interface customizability factor that Apple is slowly starting to copy. We know about that, but it's some of the little things as well, like just how effortless it was to transfer all my content from an iPhone to the Pixel using this really handy dandy little converter that came in the box. Like the fact that you can run split screen on your phone, the way that Google integrates all of its products together so well. 10 years ago, when I last owned something other than an iPhone, which admittedly is a really long time in the tech world, software on other phones was clunky and frustrating and slow and unintuitive. And it was just, frankly, a nightmare. And now it feels like every detail has been thought out extremely well in a very kind of Apple circa 2011 type way. It's excellent. Number 5, the X Factor extras. Okay, you might think I'm kind of cheating and continuing the last point here is it's still kind of software related, but there are just a few X Factor extras, I want to call them, that I just want to talk about. We've got to talk about them because they're so good. Firstly, there's Google Photos. I love that you can just automatically sync all your photos instantly and infinitely. iPhone obviously has this limited cloud storage unless you pay, and I had Dropbox to upload all my photos to, which was still paid for, and like that's fine. It's a good thing. It's a good option, but this is free and it comes with a budget phone. But that's an X Factor thing with, a little X. There are a few much bigger things that have just blown me away. Firstly, the Recorder app is so good. Not only does it record audio in exactly the same way as iPhones do, which is what you expect, but it also automatically transcribes the audio for you. That is a big deal. While it's not perfect, 100% of the time, it is phenomenal just how accurate it is. Like crazy. As part of my day job, I listen to a lot of speakers and take a lot of notes, and this has already saved me hours of time. It's so good. And then there's the fact that there's also Google Maps that minimizes but stays open while you're changing songs or if you need to use the phone for something else. That is really just super helpful and excellent. But here's the one thing that blew me away the most. You might think this is dumb, but Google Lens. Google Lens is outstanding. I really like that it's built into the camera's user interface and not just a standalone app. It's great for taking pictures of things and searching for those things, for the things that you see. It's a really good app. I tried it in London once, didn't love it too much, but it's fine. I'm working on a paper at the moment for the church that I work at, and normally I do all of my research on a Kindle. And so what I do is I highlight those notes in the book, highlight any quotes I like, and then I export them. And it's very easy. Just export them at the end of the book. Done. But for this project, I had to read some hard copy books. Now that's really frustrating because I'd read the book and highlight a bunch of quotes, but then you have to type them up. It takes literally hours transcribing quotes from the book onto the computer so that then I can come back and search them, put them into my research at the right place and all that stuff. I was getting so frustrated with trying to hold the book open with one hand and type at the same time that I thought, you know what, got an idea. I'm gonna take pictures of all the pages that I've quoted, and then at least I can see them on my screen and not hold the book open. I can type a little bit easier then. But then a little option comes up saying, copy text on my phone. And so I was intrigued and I clicked it, and suddenly it had turned the entire page into selectable text. Now that's a big deal. That's a huge advancement, right? But wait a second, it does get better. You can highlight not just the whole page, but specifically which part of the text you wanted to take off the page, rather than just having to take the entire page and transcribe that, which is awesome. But it gets better still. It gave me the option then to just press copy to desktop, and it wirelessly and instantly sent it to my computer's clipboard. So all I had to do was Control and V and copy and paste it into my notes. That is amazing. Now, some of you might be thinking, that sounds so boring. But for me, that is something on a budget phone that blew my mind. It's quite literally the first time in a long time that I've been astonished by technological advance. It really does save so much time. I love that a lot. And I know you can get almost all of those features on a huge number of other phones, and that's great. But this is where we have to return to the first point again, the price. Guys, to be able to do this on a phone I paid $400 for is unreal. It's really a big deal. So there you go. 5 reasons why I think Google Pixel 4a is worth buying in 2021. Is it as good as the top of the range flagship phones? Well, no, of course it's not. They are 3 times the price, but Does it really even need to be? Like, what do you think? Do you think it's worth a look? Do you think the iPhone SE is a better option? Maybe you think it's still time for flagship models. Flagship models are still the way to go, and you can give me some reasons why. But right now, I'm just not seeing them. I would love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment and tell me exactly what you think. You know, I always love to connect with you guys and learn from you as well. I learn a lot from the comment section here. Just prefer it if you're not mean, you know, that would be great. If you found this video helpful, as always, I would love it if you could take 2 seconds to click the thumbs up button, the like button. And if you're interested in hearing more photography, videography, and tech videos and reviews, why not consider subscribing to this channel? That would be awesome. I'd be super grateful for that. So that's it from me today. Wherever you are in the world and whatever you are doing, have a fantastic day, and I will see you very soon. Bye.